My name is Ashley Applegate, and this is my classroom library equity assignment presentation. So these are my 8 books that isn't going to be in my library. So it is We Move Together, Just Ask, A Friend for Henry, My 3 Best Friends, and Me, Zola, El Defo, Show Me a Sign, Thank You, Mr. Facklin, and The Proudest Blue is my 8 books. So the first is inclusive presentation and gender findings. So there's a strong representation of disability and neurodiversity because 9 of them is about disability and neurodiversity. There's moderate racial and cultural diversity, limited multilingual and very dark-skinned characters because there's one character, which is the proudest blue. There's female and women identified characters shown as capable, confident leaders, and then little emphasis on stereotypical gender roles. And then people of color and family structures. People of color, there's many characters of color shown as main characters and heroes, and then few negative or deflect descriptions, and then characters of color appear in everyday context, not just cultural stories. So it's not talking about like their holidays or something that's like in different cultures, but it's all the characters are like normal day aspects and stuff. And then families, there's wide range of family structures represented. So there's nuclear, which means it's both parents and the children. And then extended, single parents, multiracial, and adoptive, and like non-traditional caregivers. And then storylines and stereotypes. The storylines, emphasis on empowerment, self-advocacy, and inclusion. There's little to no savior narratives, so nobody's trying to save somebody else or anything really. It's just they're going through life and everything with their differences and stuff. And then some stories highlight systematic inequalities, so there's like their disabilities and everything. And then stereotypes, there's minimal harmful stereotypes across the books about like race, gender, disability, religion, or language. It's minimal. And then authenticity of representation, mostly accurate, respectful, and contemporary portrayals. There's a limited tokenization or over-generalization. There's a strong alignment with author lived experience or research, so they're talking about their own lives and everything, which I think is great that it's like based off of them and everything, and they're making the book like having the experience and stuff, because yeah. And then most titles published within the last 20 years, ensuring relevance. There's only one book that has not been published in the last 20 years, which is Thank You, Mr. Facklin, and that was in 1998 that it was published. And then overall conclusion, collection excels in disability representation because they're all about disability but one. And then characters with disabilities shown as capable, complex, and independent. So it's not just side characters, they are the main characters and everything. So they're shown as capable and everything, and like how they live their life. And then there's some gaps remain in multilingual and dark skin representation because I only had one book, so there was some gaps. And then storylines and themes promote empowerment, diversity, and inclusive values. So yeah. And then classroom culture implementation. This classroom library signals an inclusive, welcoming environment, which I want my library, and like if I have a little library in my classroom when I start teaching, I want to have it to be like inclusive and like a welcoming environment, and I want like everybody to be able to learn on their own and learn like their own pace and everything. And then it shows students that differences are valued, not avoided, because I don't want to avoid their differences. I want to make sure that they know to embrace them and everything. And then encourages acceptance of diverse abilities, cultures, and learning needs. So me wanting to go into special education and everything, learning needs and like diverse abilities and everything is very important to me. Everything. And then creating a safe space where all students feel seen and capable. I want my classroom to be a safe space. So I totally agree with creating a safe space where all students feel seen and capable. And then impact of positive presentation. Presentation boosts students' self-worth and confidence, helps students with disabilities feel pride rather than stigma, which meaning there's a stigma about special education where like they're stupid and everything. They're not. They just learn a different way. And I think it's really fascinating and everything that people can learn in different ways and stuff. And then builds empathy and understanding among peers. So it's like you can be empathetic about what they're going through and everything, because it is hard sometimes, because I've been through it, so it is hard stuff. And then strengthens classroom community through respect and inclusion. You include them, so like you like there's special education classes that like they can go to like a general ed class and stuff and still get help, but they get to see like other people stuff. So it's a great way for them to be involved and stuff, and like respecting them stuff is very important also. And then additional reflections. There's a positive framing on LDEFO because it portrays deaf identity as empowering, because it is empowering to be deaf and stuff, and it can be hard. So it's really like important for it to be represented as empowering, and that it can be a struggle, but it's also great. Everything, and it's such a very fascinating thing. And then classroom A is going to be reinforcing existing inclusive culture. And then classroom B challenges assumptions and expands awareness. So classroom A, they already know like inclusive culture, so it's more of like expanding it and everything, and then like telling what they know. And then classroom B challenges exemptions, so like they learn and then they challenge it and everything, and they expand awareness also. And culture and literature and culture, books shape how children understand the world, so it's very important that books are empowering to different things, and that it shows a positive like reflection of it, because that is how children like learn about the world and like see the world. So it's very important. And then multicultural society, there is intersectional identities reflect the real world. And that is all for my presentation. Thank you for listening. Bye.